it is. There's a new music from the Thirsty Deer studio. Welcome to the live stream tonight, you all. It's Friday night, uh, September 17th in the Lord's year 2025, and this is Thirsty Deer Studio, your home for rock and roll on YouTube, man. And we're doing a live stream tonight. It's the first one. I've been doing 3 a week. This time I had to cut it to 2. I did one earlier in the week, and we're doing one tonight, baby, because that's what we do when we get the time. If you're new to the channel, let me start off by saying hit subscribe, hit like, leave me a comment, please get in the chat. We want interaction on these live streams. We want to do this damn thing right. And I want to talk to you all about music. I want to know how you work, what you're into. Right now, as we speak, right in my backyard, right down the road, is a huge, the biggest festival in rock and roll, in metal, Louder Than Life, going on right now, Louisville, Kentucky. And we love the live music, but lately, I'm enjoying spending my time making the music as well. I used to go to a lot more shows than I do now. I think to go for 4-day passes for Louder Than Life, around $1,000. It's around $40 just to park. You know, I think of that in terms of gear a lot of times, man. I could get some pretty cool shit for the studio for that. But there's some great bands out there. I don't know the whole lineup. Maybe we'll get on the phone and look at the lineup in a minute. But I know Marilyn Manson played the other night, which I always wanted to see him. I remember like his first tour and the one he did for Antichrist Superstar, huge tour, and everybody was protesting. So I thought it would be very cool to see Marilyn Manson. He played just the other night. I know we have STP coming up tomorrow night, I think, on Saturday. I'm the biggest Stone Temple Pilots fan, but I saw them 3 times in the 90s and early 2000s with Scott, so I kind of don't want to taint those memories of Scott fucking Weiland with, you know, the new guy. Even though he sounds great, I remember, you know, what got me into STP was the original lineup with Scott, right? Love Dean, the DeLeo brothers, Dean, and Robert, great. You know, Robert's, if you watch Rick Beato, Robert, you know, he's very musical, thinks about the Stone Temple Pilots, even, you know, that what you would think of as just grunge or alt rock. A lot of that stuff he was playing was jazz type chords with 6s and 7ths and, you know, big 5-note chords and things, and just a great player. Robert and Dean both, you know, wrote the music for those songs. Eric Kretz on drums, badass, you know. But that's going on right in the backyard. You know, YouTube is flooded with all the Nashville people, and we're not too far away from that. But I feel like Louisville is a rock and roll town. You know what I mean? Nashville is your country music, home of country music, and there's such history there. Amazing shit goes down in Nashville, you know. I'd say I've heard that that country music is even bigger than rap right now, you know what I mean? And those are the 2 biggest genres for music. But around here, where I'm from and what I'm into is the rock and roll, baby. You know, I love the rock and roll. If I haven't said already, I've not been able to have as much time to get my usual videos out. I did just make the video you saw at the intro. That's the new song. That song is called Reckless Abandon, and it's up on all the streaming services. If you go onto YouTube Music, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere you stream your music, type in Thirsty Deer, type in Reckless Abandon, you'll get that song. Go stream it, go listen, go rock out. Put that shit on in the car, man. It sounds great in the car. You know, one of the things we do with production, nowadays it's kind of a modern production thing. Back in the day when everything was vinyl, people used to put, you know, boost the frequencies on their kick drums to about 100 hertz, and have the bass lower than that a little bit, maybe, or maybe a little higher than that. You couldn't get those low end frequencies, but I'm putting low in there, much like you would hear on dance music or rap music. I'm boosting around 50 to 60 hertz on the kick drum, and it's really hitting hard in the car. And we're boosting around 100 on the bass, so you can really feel that bass in your chest. It's just a different way that we work nowadays than how, like, those classic rock records like the Stones made or the Beatles made. You couldn't get that low end on a vinyl album because there's grooves in the record, right? And if you had too much low end, those grooves would get too wide and the needle would bounce out, right? And you can't replicate those sounds on vinyl. So people back in the day were just using different frequencies on their stuff. I feel a little weird being in my chair with arms. This is a chair I work in mostly. But I've been doing live streams in this little stool over here because that's what I sit on, like, to play bass and play guitar in the studio. But I just wanted to kick back, have a conversation. This is just, we're just gonna, I put on the thumbnail for this, ask me anything, and I mean that. It doesn't have to be music related. Hopefully it is music related, but if it's not, ask me some shit, man. We're flying by the seat of our pants tonight. It can't be any more of a shit show than what we've gotten this week in the world, right? Man, a lot of people don't like to get political on YouTube, man, but the way the world is, it's like, people are taking, like, I watch some of Rhett Shull's videos, and Rhett, it's cool because Rhett's speaking out, but he's not doing it he's done a couple videos about tariffs and things like this, but he's really speaking out on Threads. I feel like that's a good thing. I'm not scared to talk about how I feel on YouTube. It's bullshit that Jimmy Kimmel is getting taken down, and that's freedom of speech. And it's just ridiculous that somebody goes up and tells a joke. Their job, what they put on their tax forms, is comedian. And if they go tell a joke, even not a distasteful joke or a nasty thing he said, and he tweeted before the joke, prayers and condolences to the family of the man who was shot, Charlie Kirk. I never really honestly heard the name before that happened. I don't know. I don't want to get too into it with that because, nobody wants to see anybody get hurt or killed. It's just wrong, but it's also wrong to censor us. And, even if what Jimmy said was nasty or hateful, that's our right as Americans. And he's got a platform. Ever since I remember Johnny Carson, when I was a kid, doing jokes on The Tonight Show. And, it's, there was political stuff back then. There's always been political satire. And it's part of, like, what keeps the balance, Our leaders here are not kings. And there needs to be checks and balances. And with government, there needs to be checks and balances. And with the people, So I don't want to dive too deep into it, but I did want to make it clear that if you get in the chat, I will chat about anything tonight that you want to chat about, because I want to get this live stream popping, and I don't have nothing to hide. You can ask me things about my personal life. Why am I doing this at the age I am now? Why am I making music? Why am I struggling on YouTube? I've got around 350 subs. Let's get some more tonight. If you see the stream, get on in here, give me a like, or subscribe to the channel. You don't want to miss these things, man. It's a conversation we're having. I welcome you all to be part of the conversation. We play music. I got some stuff lined up where I can play some guitar tonight. Did you all like that guitar solo on that song? I really dig that solo, man. It's one of my better ones that I put on my music, and I dig it. I like it. I've been listening to that song. It's not really cool to listen to your music a lot, but for about a couple weeks, just to make sure that I have things the way I want before it goes out and after it goes out for a while, to like check my head and make sure I was thinking clearly when I put the music out there. I listened to it for a while, and I'm still digging that song. It's a great sounding one. I like to, when I have a new song out, put it on the beginning of the live stream, like come into that music, have that playing when we start the stream, and then when we end the stream, I do the same thing. We'll play an older song. Um, that's what I do here in the studio, man. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of gear channels, things like this, and I've got some great gear, and I highlight it on my channel a lot. I do videos about gear, but to me, the great gear, it's all really great gear in here, and the great gear is to make music sound the best it can. It's about songs, man. Or I feel like there's a lot of people out there that are just gear collectors, and I don't hear them making any music with it. And it's like, come on, man, you got all this great shit, make something. Even don't be embarrassed about what you make, because it's all an expression of art. I realize that my music may not be for everybody, definitely isn't for everybody, but it's what's on my mind at the time. My vocals are about what's on my mind at the time, about shit that I've went through in my life, about things that I see happening with my son, watching him grow up. These are familiar topics that I put in my music, and so it's real. That's what we do. It's about getting our feelings out there and being real with shit. And it's been cool on these live streams. I've been doing it probably about a month now, and I was doing like 3 a week for the first couple weeks, and this week I did 2, and it's just basically because I've been on overtime at work, and I feel like I'm not getting as much time with my son, so I just did 2 live streams this week. But man, I try and keep this consistent. So if you see this, hit that subscribe button, and like I said in the thumbnail, ask me anything. We've already talked about some political shit. We've talked about some music. We're gonna play a little guitar. I'll let you hear that new song. We're gonna wrap it up with another song. The gear, to me, like I was saying, all these gear YouTube channels, make some music with the gear, man. That's what you got to do, and that's the type of stuff I like to watch, and that's the type of stuff I make. So if you have any gear questions, I know all about this gear, and we can dig into some pieces if you want to do that. Let me just play you the YouTube short of that guitar solo again, and because that has an interesting thing. I always use my real amplifiers, but for that guitar solo, I use the Gems 45 from TC Electronics, and it's a cool thing for solos for me sometimes. So that's what I use it for, if I can find it. I might not have it on here anymore. Let me see. Let's see. Let me go to my downloads, because it might be in there. Yeah, okay, so let's look at this. This is a short. All right, so that whole pedal chain and guitar sound right there, you can get for under $200 or under $250, right? So that's a TC Electronic Gems 45 is the amp sim. All of the rhythm guitars and everything on that song are real amplifiers. Either the baritone part is through my dual rectifier Shermo Verb, it's a 4x12 cab, and all the other guitars on the other side are through my Fender Twin. But that Gems 45, that guitar solo is just a rat pedal, which is like an $80 pedal, going into that TC Electronic Gem 45, which is like $140 amp sim, but it sounds great, and I love real amps, but a lot of times when I play my solos, my son will be asleep, and I don't really like, that one I think was done at 4 a.m. before I went to work, and I don't like playing real amplifiers that loud in the morning, because even though he can sleep through a tornado, he would wake up on that. But the most expensive thing in that chain was the mic preamp. I have Chandler TG2 mic preamps, and I run the Amp Sim DI into those TG2s. You're hearing them right now. The chain for what you're hearing my voice through is a nice chain. It's this mic, this United Twin 87 going into a BAE 1073, which is a great Neve preamp. It's, like a real Neve. And then going into the TG2, or actually going into Audioscape 76D compressor, which just makes my voice level for the stream, right? So, and then from that is going into the TG2, which is another preamp, and I'm only doing that because the TG2 also has summing built in, and with the summing, I can take the two channels and sum out of both outputs into my interface, so I'm not either on the left side or the right. You're hearing my voice down the middle, and it's hard to do that on streaming if you don't have some outboard gear. Most of the people that make YouTube live streams have a console, because you need to have a way to bust out multiple channels, or you'll be hearing like instruments on one side and the voice on the right for a live stream. You know what I'm saying? Because interfaces, if you can only go two channels into the streaming software, and if you're using only two channels of your interface, it automatically goes left and right, right? It doesn't go down the middle. So you have to have some kind of summing. And this is the kind of thing, that I like to talk about on here, because I know a lot of you that watch YouTube videos and play music might want to, I know I did. I was watching Tom Bukovac for a while. I watched his very first video, and it got me thinking about doing these videos, right? And it took me a while to start doing them. And even after I started doing the videos, that was a steep learning curve. But then I also had to learn to do the live streams, and I've just been doing them for about a month, and I've been doing YouTube for about 3 years. You know what I mean? A lot of my first videos I've got private now because they just weren't great. But you have to jump in if you want to do these things. You have to, just like with your music and getting it out there, you have to just jump in and start, because you're not going to grow. You're not going to, make anything happen just sitting back thinking about doing something. That's why, when I see these people with all the great gear, but I don't hear them making any music, it's like, what are you doing with the gear? I'm curious, what are you doing with the gear? Because I like to take my gear and make projects and get them out there. You can go stream that song, which is Reckless Abandon. Go, type in Thirsty Deer, Reckless Abandon on any of the streaming services, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Prime, and you can find my music and judge for yourself, So leave me a comment in the chat if you're watching, or if you're catching this later, leave me a comment, hit that like button and subscribe, man, because we're all about music, that's what I do. And there's really, it's a strange time in music, because when I was coming up, you had to have a record deal to make a record. Nobody could have $100,000 console in their house, or $1 million tape machine. Some of these tape machines were like $1 million. Like there's I think a Sony machine or something like that was like the first of its kind, and now you can get them, I think, for $500 or something, but they were close to $1 million. And, I hear a lot about them. People would put the Apogee cards in them because they still didn't sound great. And it took Apogee to come along and make this card for these digital machines, like the first digital recording, right? And then on straight analog tape, nobody could afford to have, a 48 track tape recorder or 224 tracks, or how, if you were just doing 8 tracks, people could have a 2 track Tascam, that would sum out to 2 tracks maybe. But still, that was a big deal. And then you have to have some analog gear back then going into it, or you can't compress anything, you can't EQ anything, you know. So it was a big expense, and then you had to have the records pressed, or the CDs made, or the tapes printed. It just wasn't feasible to make your own music. And then if you could do all those things, how are you going to distribute it, right? So it's just a total flip in the way things are now, to way they were then. Now we're kind of oversaturated with music, and some of it sucks. Um, and really, I hate saying that, because art is totally subjective, and what I might say I'm not into. Try not to say it sucks. I should, but what I'm not into, might be somebody else's favorite band, because art is subjective, right? So as long as you're getting out there and doing some work and making music, that's where it's at. And we've got people in high up places trying to say that, trying to tell people what they can and can't say. And I feel like now more than ever, it's important to keep doing creative works. Um, you know, uh, you can feel like this fear in the air a little bit, I think. And it's, people are scared to say things, and but even if you're scared to say things, you can still make creative works of art, right? You can still make music in your studio. You can still put that shit out there. And it's a form of expression, even if your music doesn't have any lyrics, right? Because music music has this deeper thing about it that touches us, in a way that words can't many times, right? You can say things with a riff, or a guitar line, or with a piano chord, or with a drum beat even, that sometimes you can't say with words. Or if you do say it with words and you put those two things together, it's more powerful than either of them on their own. And so I really believe in this. That's why I do it so much. Like, even with nobody watching, if nobody's watching, I'm still doing these things, because all it takes is a spark, and then, the algorithm might pick it up, and then somebody will see some things. And I just want to, there's two things I care about in my life, and that's raising my son the best I can, and making music, because it's one thing that I know I'm pretty good at. I can do it. And it took me a long time to learn to record and make things sound good, and I did that work, and so I want to not have it be in vain. And there's a lot of times I can't say what I want to say to people in general. It's I've always kind of been like that. It's like I don't trust people, whatever, but I can speak with my music, and it's just a different thing, you know. And we all need to be open right now, and it's a crazy ass world. It's a violent world, and it's. I don't know. I just got a lot on my mind. I wanted to do a live stream because, like I said, I've been doing 3 a week for about the past month since I've started doing live streams, since I figured out that process. And this is only my second one this week. And so, because I've been, busy with work and, paying the bills, um, you know, I wanted to get one out here tonight because to keep things consistent for one, but also I put on the thumbnail "Ask Me Anything," and I mean that because you know there's it can easily become a world where, or a United States where you can't say the things you want, and I really feel like that is a possibility, could be a possibility. So They can take people off the air, but as of right now, nobody can shut me down on YouTube. I mean, I guess they could, but they haven't yet, and I've been doing this thing for a while. So, you know, um, and, it's all about making music, or whatever your creative outlet is, right? I don't know. You want to hear this Jim's 45? Let's see. I'll just play a little bit of guitar. I don't even know what I'm going to play. Let me take this delay off. I don't have the monitors on, but I'll put on my headphones. It sounds pretty good. I've got my headphones a little low, but. That's just the Gems 45 on the Green channel. I'm playing a Warm Audio Centavo into it, which is a clone. And then put some slapback on it. Let's see. I don't know where this is, but. So that's the Bigsby pedal, dropping this down to a baritone, which is what I was doing in that song. Not on that lead short that you all might have seen, did see in this video. But that's the main riff. It's something like that. I might even have it wrong. Like, I play these things, man, and then I have to go back and learn them again if I want to replay them, because I just sit in here and, like, the studio is my laboratory, and if I come up with something cool, I hit record, and then I get enough pieces of parts of songs and put them together like people do with loops and things. I don't do loops that much, but I'll do guitar riffs almost like loops. Like, I'll play the part, then I'll link those parts together, then I'll put bass over it usually, or actually, I usually get most of the guitars tracked. Like, I'll play that part on one side, and then I'll play in standard tuning on the other side. I'll play like this. Play it in standard up higher. So you've got two. I'm not playing stereo image like a double. I'm not playing a double. I'm playing different things on either side, which is a very Rolling Stones thing to do. Not necessarily playing the baritone thing, they didn't really do that a lot, but playing different but complementary parts on the opposite sides is a very Rolling Stones thing to do. So, it's a cool way to work, and I really like that sound. Sometimes I'll do a straight up double, because as long as you're going through a different amp, or have it play, like I've got a Telly over here, I'll play like the Les Paul on one side, Telly on the other. Really, all you need is one guitar. But if you have two guitars for creating in the studio, That's a really great way to work if you're going to make rock and roll, because even if you only have one amp, having two different guitar sounds will give you good stereo separation. What stereo is having different sounds on from the left and right sides, right? And it's the differences that make things stereo, not the similarities. So if you're playing a double, it'll be big mono if it was exactly the same. Like if you just duplicated a part, that would be big mono. Even if you changed some things, like change some plugins from side to side. You know, if you had like a tremolo on the right side and EQ'd it different on the left, it would still be like big mono. Even though you're doing different things, it's the same identical part, so it's hard to separate that. But the little differences from double tracking makes the stereo image, right? That's why, like on my drums, I usually use a Royer, which is down on my Fender Twin down here right now. But over this hi-hat side overhead is usually a Royer R10, and then over the ride cymbal side is usually this microphone. And so that's two different overhead mics, and you don't see people doing that a lot, but it's fine because your overheads is what you're depending on for your stereo, part of your stereo image. I also use room mics for that. But, I've said this before on here. I watch a lot of Eric Valentine stuff, and he loves Zeppelin, as we all do. And that levee breaks, when the levee breaks drum sound, even though it's two U67s, he says that they couldn't sound any more different. Because he's broke it down and tried to duplicate that sound and done a pretty damn good job at it. And, so even back in the day, especially with the tolerances on gear, things weren't perfect. There was a wider gap in tolerances. You could have things sound completely different even in the same model microphone or guitar amplifier. Like I've heard the same thing about Marshalls, like old Plexis. No two really sound the same, right? And it's cool, really, when you think about it, because now everything is to a standard, and all the tolerances are tight, and all the gear is manufactured in spec. So you don't even really need to buy consecutive serial number microphones anymore because the tolerances are so tight. If you want a stereo pair, you can pretty much buy them at different times, from the way I understand, right? Because everything's so in spec nowadays. I don't know, man. I'm just rambling. If you got anything you want to talk about, leave it in the chat, and I will talk about it, because thumbnail says so. I watched a cool thing today. So when I'm at work, I have my earbuds in, and I can even watch a little bit as long as I'm doing my work. Podcasts, YouTube videos, things like this. And today I watched one. It was Mark Maron. It was his podcast, but somebody's reposted them on YouTube, so it's just audio. But it was Mark Maron talking to Keith Richards. It was a great one, man. I didn't even know he had spoke to him, but it was a really good one. Feels good to play. I haven't gotten to play all day. I play a little bit before I go to work at like 4 a.m. I go to work at 6, but I get up at 4. And I come in here and I play a little bit before I leave for work. And I had overtime at work today. And then I came home and spent time with my boy. And we went and had ice cream, we were having ice cream at 8:15, and I knew I had to do this live stream at 9 because I had it scheduled. So I didn't get any time to practice. I did just very quickly get time to tune up and do a quick test video, just record a video on my stuff not being broadcast, to make sure I had everything patched in right and sounding good. Let me know how the thing sounds too, because I upped the level on my expander in OBS, and I want to make sure it's not cutting off anything. really love this Leslie from Keeley. It's not the new rotary pedal. It's the I Get Around, which it looks about the same as the rotary, except it's white instead of black. Let's listen to that. I've been trying to really get into bigger chords and like stuff that's dissonant, even just a major 7. So if you slow down this rotary, it'll slow down while you're playing if you hit the like ramp down. You can hear it slow down. I really like it when it's slow, and it's even got a break function, which is cool because it gets it really dirty, and it's a different kind of distortion than like a drive pedal. Another great rotating Leslie thing without having to actually own a Leslie that I use a lot is the UA waterfall plugin. That thing sounds killer, man. If you got a part that's just, you feel like it needs a little more life or a little movement, a little modulation, try that rotary from UA. It's called the waterfall. It's killer. It's just the presets in it are great, and you don't really have to even tweak on them much. I might change the output a little bit, the output knob. Mainly I leave the presets like they are and just adjust the level a little bit, and they're great. Maybe I'll lose all my subscribers for talking half-ass political. That's alright. Somebody's got to do it. And like, I felt like nobody was speaking out about some things, like when Colbert got fired. He's still on, but he's getting fired. You know, I feel like nobody was saying anything. Now this is with Jimmy Kimmel. It's just more blatant. You know, and like, you know, it was just this warning was issued, and then all of a sudden, ABC, Disney, that Nextel or NextGen, whatever it is that owns that company, they just, bye, man. You said something the dude don't like, so bye. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it, and I'm 45. So that is the setting is boost. There's a boost side and a mid side on this I Get Around pedal. Let me switch it to the mids. Robert Keeley told me just leave everything set to right at noon on this, and it sounds the best. And I've tried different settings, and I agree with him. It sounds the best. So I Get Around pedal. I like it. Everything set to the middle. This is a boost side. It's got a little toggle. I tend to use the boost most often for like my amps and even my digital. It sounds good. This Jim's 45. But let's listen to the mid boost side or the mid side. So you just flip that toggle and it's definitely a little more pointed in the mid. But I actually think you get a little bit more level out of the boost side. lot of times, man, when I'm playing, I'm just playing. You know, not necessarily when I'm doing that lead stuff. That's more noodling. But I try to always be thinking like riffs or what would be a cool tune. So let's ramp that back up now. I like that. Just with the open string. It's got like a kind of a hollowness, but really, I love Leslie. I also have a Boss CE2W, which will do. It's got a toggle where you can go pretty light chorus and then like the CE2 setting. And then all the way to the right is like the old CE1, the big box, like 70 CE1 setting. And that thing is like a faux Leslie. It sounds cool too, but for my Leslie, I really like using the side get around, and that chorus is great. Oh, I forgot to mention on that guitar solo, also that chorus was on there. I had it set light, I think, to the all the way left on the toggle of the CE2W. So when I said 250, I forgot about the chorus, but you can put any chorus on there, even a plug-in chorus, and it'll sound great. I forgot I used that chorus on there too. The chorus for a guitar solo, if you just want a little bit of movement, chorus is great. I have another chorus that I got when I just wanted a chorus, and I was kind of broke at the time. I got the Behringer, the yellow one, the super chorus, and it sounds pretty good. I think it's based on a Boss, one of their other choruses, maybe a super chorus, or I think it's based on the Boss super chorus, but it's actually called the Behringer Ultra chorus. It's the yellow. And it sounds pretty good too. It's a stereo chorus, so you can go mono in, stereo out. You might even be able to go stereo in, stereo out. But it's a cool pedal. So on this Les Paul, this is a 54 reissue, like a R4, but it's the first year that it's before the first year. So the first year they issued these where you could just buy them was 96. This is what they called a dealer custom. This actually predates the actual first run of 54 reissues that they did starting in the 90s up through now. So this is a year before. It's a dealer custom. I said we're, around Louisville, Kentucky. This was from Music Warehouse in Louisville, Kentucky on Bardstown Road. They custom ordered some guitars, and they did a dealer custom thing where they got a 54 before they were actually coming off the line in production. That's what this is. And it's always been stock until last year. I put the Music City Bridge on it, but otherwise it's still stock, original frets, everything. And this Music City Bridge is great. It changes the spacing of the strings, so you do have to get a little used to where your strings are. A little bit used to that. If you get the Music City Bridge, you just have to, play it and get back used to it. It stays in tune. It was staying in tune a little better, but actually Les Pauls, man, with the way the strings are up here, the way the strings split at the headstock instead of being all in a line like a Fender. I hear that's why it happens. And I filed the nut a little bit because you can, what happens is the strings will get hung up in the nut slot. And if you file that, but be careful because you can go too much on them pretty easily. And it happens. This one isn't too bad, but I did go a little more than I wanted to, and I get a little string buzz sometimes if I hit a chord hard. But this is a great guitar. What I was saying, though, with the Les Pauls, a lot of times the tuning, man, if the weather is like humid or hot, or in dead cold winter, and you come into a kind of cool house, and it's your your tuning will be crazy on a Les Paul, because the weather, I feel like, really affects the wood more than a Fender. Fenders are just uh, Fenders are just more solid as far as tuning. I feel like, most of the time. But there are things you can do to keep your Les Paul in tune. That's another thing with recording. If you're going to be recording a lot, get your tune, man. Tune a lot. Get your guitars in tune. So, if you're watching the live stream, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button. I've told you about what we do here. We make music here, and this is the Ask Me Anything chat, and do that. Ask me anything. Even if you're catching this later, later on down the line, put a comment in the comments section. Tell me about yourself. Tell me how you work, or ask me anything you want to ask me tonight. The world is crazy, and I'm right here with them, man. I'm here for it. So ask me anything you want to ask me in the chat. I will answer it. And subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I've been on overtime at work this week, so I've only got to do 2 live streams this week. I've been trying to keep it at 3 live streams a week for the past month, but I fell a little short this week because of overtime and, single dad life. That's how I do it. That's how I roll. Play a lot of guitar, play a lot of drums, make a lot of music. I'm going to, here in about 5 minutes, because we're getting close to the hour, I'm going to send you off with another one of my tunes. We came into the live stream with my newest song, which just came out on Monday. Go stream it. It's called Reckless Abandon. So if you put in the streaming service, any of them, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon, any place you stream your music, type in Thirsty Deer, type in Reckless Abandon, and you will get the song that I played at the beginning. I played the video for it, which is just a tracking video of me tracking the tune here in the studio. But go listen to it in the car, because it sounds really good in the car with the bass thumping. If you got subs, it should sound really good. I don't have subs in my car, but it sounds good on these little 6x9s in my Subaru. So ask me anything in the chat, man. Subscribe to the channel. Come back for some more videos. I'm going to be doing these live streams a lot. I also do regular videos, long form videos. Actually, the streaming thing is new for me. You saw one of my newest YouTube it's not really long form, it was just a 3-minute and 10-second music video, but I do a lot of videos that are 30 minutes long. I've got some cool videos on there about Rupert Neve. about Mike Campbell, about Keith Richards. I make music, man, in the studio. That's what I do. I highlight gear. I do all these things. And we're going to send you off with the video here in just a minute. Yeah, we're at 9:54. So let me just play something. I don't know what I should play. Alright, I just, we're going to wrap this up because we're right about an hour, and I'm going to play a video that's about 3 minutes long, so that'll put us right about an hour. I'm going to mute this big old condenser mic right now, and I'm going to put the video up on the screen so you can see it, and I'm going to say good night. Hopefully things don't get any more crazy. Hopefully, everybody stays safe, no matter where you're at, politically, philosophically, morally. Hopefully we're all on a good moral plane. That's, if be a good person, man. That's all you can do. That's all you can do. So let's play a video. Let me get this up and rolling. I think we're going to do one called Pixel Palm Reader. It's a rocker, and I want to end this up on a rocker. A real rock and roll song, man. That's what I do. I make the rock and roll, and I have more ballady type songs, but this one is gonna be a rocker. If I can find it. Here it is. Okay. So this is Pixel Palm Reader. Here we go.